Whether you tase them, because if you tase someone and they're on a ledge or they're on 5 feet off the ground,
yeah,
they're going to fall because your body's just going to lock up. So you have to kind of know where you're tasing someone. If you tase someone in a vehicle and they take off in the vehicle, that's another whole issue. So while the weapon does help police officers de-escalate, the officer has to be very well aware of the surroundings and who he or she is tasing, because if you tase the wrong person, you as the officer is going to be held liable in a court. So you have to be very careful what you do. And then the last one is lethal or deadly force, and that's obviously most likely going to be used a weapon. An officer uses a weapon, a handgun, a rifle, a shotgun, whatever type of weapon he has, firearm, I should say. But you have to follow that continuum usually.
You have to follow. Well, you don't have to follow. You've got a checklist it off in your mind.
Yeah, I mean, you literally could go from you get out of your car, guy has a gun. So you're going to go from out of your car to number 5.
Yeah,
you're going to go to lethal force.
Yeah,
you can go to a call, a domestic, and things are going not good, but not bad. Mm-hmm. Within 3 or 4 minutes, things start to escalate. The person you're talking to becomes more uncooperative. He or she may run into the kitchen.
At this point,
grab a knife. Yeah. Now it goes from your officer presence to verbal commands. Boom. To deadly force once they put a weapon in their hands.
Since we're dealing with scenarios, here's a scenario. Right. My daughter, as you know, turned 16.
I heard.
Yesterday, and like any 16-year-old, what she wanted to do more than anything was watch her first slasher films.
All right.
And so we watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, there you go.
So let's say this. Here's a scenario. You come to my house because the neighbors have been complaining. There's a noise complaint. I come out with a chainsaw and I'm swinging the chainsaw at you. Would you be justified in shooting me?
Absolutely, 100%.
Why is that?
Well, a chainsaw would be it's a non-conventional deadly weapon. It's not common that people chainsaw their neighbor to death. But if you went to a house for some sort of a disturbance and you knocked on the door, or as you were exiting your cruiser, some maniac came out with a chainsaw and he's pulling the what's it called?
The chain.
He's pulling the starting plug. I don't know what the hell it is.
Oh, the
cord. The
rip cord. Whatever it is. Whatever it is. The cord.
And he's walking at you with a chainsaw that's going.
Coincidentally, I am not. Oh, no, he did start it a couple of times. I was going to say, I don't think they ever started the chainsaw in Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
They never have?
It was just going. No, they have. Because now that I'm thinking about it, they did. I didn't want to give away the scene. I know you might watch it.
A good friend of mine that I used to box with is a slasher film actor.
He's a slasher film actor. For a minute, I thought you said
he's from Massachusetts, from Essex County. D. Carney.
Really?
Dana Carney.
Dana Carney. That name sounds familiar.
He used to be a boxer.
All right.
He's got a lot of films out there.
And he's doing slasher films.
Slasher films, that type. Either that, or he's just he's a really big guy, like 6'5", like 300.
So
he plays like a leg breaker.
Okay.
Or a slasher film, a horror film, whatever.
Well, that's good. That's good. Did you ever offer to get you into the movies?
No, I can't act.
Huh?
I can't act.
Well, I know. I'm sure people have told you. Anyway, moving on. Self-defense. So let me ask you this. I come after you. You come to my house.
Yep.
Right? I call you up. I say, Dale, come on over. Then you come over. I come out with my chainsaw. I'm swinging the chainsaw at you. You shoot me.
Yep.
Is that self-defense?
Am I a police officer or just a citizen?
Either one.
Yeah, that's going to be, if for some reason, let's say, Dave, you and your buddy are watching the Patriots game.
Okay.
You bet on the Patriots and he bet on the Rams. And you're losing. You both have been drinking.
Yep.
And you're out in the backyard of the fire pit. You're pissed off because you're going to lose your bet. And you look at him and you say, you know something? I always hated you. You go over to the wood pile. You grab the chainsaw.
Yep.
I mean, come on. That's definitely self-defense.
Okay.
Now, if you would have to grab the chainsaw and you would have to be an imminent threat. If you just grabbed the chainsaw and started, chopping some wood with it, no. But if you grabbed the chainsaw, walked toward him and said, you SOB, I'm going to end this right now, he has to be in fear. A rational person's going to be in fear for their life. Imminent threat.
What if I've just got like leather over my face? I'm not saying much of anything. I'm just chasing him with a chainsaw. Does that count as reasonable fear of? Should he have a reasonable fear of harm?
You would. Let me tell you a scenario. Guy, former teacher, kid comes to his house. I think it was around Halloween, but it wasn't Halloween. Late at night. Pounding on the door. Has a goalie mask on his face, and I think he had like an axe in his hand.
Uh-oh.
So this teacher is like, okay, it's close to Halloween. Is this someone I know trying to prank me? Kind of a disturbed prank.
Yes.
But that was in his head because it was very close, if not within a day or two of Halloween.
October is a tough month for making that, for differentiating.
So he yelled at the kid or the person, and the person wouldn't leave. So he's, behind the door, please leave, I have a gun. The kid wouldn't leave, still pounding on the door. So he calls the police, but obviously it takes a while for the cops to get there, a couple of minutes.
Yep.
He opens the door, he points the gun at the kid, and he puts a few rounds up in the air, and the kid takes off.
All right.
Yeah.
Good.
That was absolutely a deadly force situation because ultimately it wasn't anyone he knew. It wasn't some rogue trick-or-treater. It was just some madman.
How do you know?
Because I know the story. I know the case.
But did they find the guy?
Absolutely caught the kid.
They did find the guy, and he was a random madman.
He was one of his ex-students.
He was one of his students come back to be a madman.
Yeah, so you better be careful. Everyone in Rattigan's class gets a B+.
I know. That's one of the things I think about. I look through the thing, and then I'll be like, somebody, well, he really didn't earn. He
now you could sit there and say, well, his door is shut. Should he have opened the door? There's a lot of scenarios you can say, but I mean, at what point do you just let him come in my house? Let him start, taking an axe to my door. Now he's in my house. I mean, there's a line where you have a right to protect yourself.
That's an excellent question. What if he had taken that axe and gone after the guy's door?
Yeah, and then now he's waiting for the cops. Does he have to wait for the cops? I mean, does he hear the siren? He's like, oh, here comes the cops. Let me just wait. Maybe the kid that last axe swipe won't get in the house, and now he'll kill me.
So this is considered to be a proportional response.
Absolutely. Someone comes at you with an axe for no apparent reason. You have a right to defend yourself.
Okay.
To use deadly force in that situation.
And this is the idea of the what do they call it? What do they call the Florida?
You have the castle, protect the castle doctrine.
Yep.
It's different in a lot of states.
Protect the castle doctrine, which is what do they call it in Florida?
That's a good question. I was sitting here before you showed up. You were late, and before you showed up, I was going to jump on my phone and say, something. Florida has a real loose one.
Yeah,
you don't screw around in Florida. I forget the name of it, but man. You don't even get into an argument in front of a convenience store in Florida because if someone
stand your ground law,
stand your ground.
That's it.
Because if someone feels an imminent threat, meaning Dave, if you're not, but if you were 5'7", 120, and some guy gave you a hard time and he's 6'5", 300, guess what?
Every little guy that ever took a cheap shot,
force in that situation down in Florida
that I came, any of my friends that ever got into a fight or ever did something cheap in a game, it was always, they were so much bigger than me. They were pushing me around, and it gets to the point where you think they might be making it up or imagining it. These smaller people, but yeah, it's a good point. If you're smaller and you're attacked by somebody who's larger, or even if you're
considerably larger, usually.
But what if you're not considerably larger? What if you're the same size?
It all depends. Are they some MMA expert and they got you in a rear naked choke and they're trying to choke you out?
It's just some guy I don't know. How about if it's just some guy I don't know who's just a little weird?
You mean some guy who wanted a refund from one of your comedy shows?
Yeah, something like that. Something like that.
Every situation is like we said earlier, is so unique in and of itself. Different parts of the country have different laws, i.e. Florida, which has a very lenient law. A lot of things happen in Florida that if it happened in, say, Massachusetts, the person would probably be charged with a crime. But down in Florida, it's a little different. Down in Texas, it's a little different. The laws are different. So they see things differently. So every situation you could ask.
Am I correct to say that in Massachusetts, if I have a madman breaking into my house and I have a chance to escape through the back door, I have to look at that as a first option before I shoot the guy?
Are you home alone or is your wife and kids there?
It's an excellent point.
Because if you run out and leave your wife and kids, no, you don't have to leave your wife and kids.
What if I took the kid, left the wife?
Yeah.
Sorry. All right.
Well, yeah, there is there is a kind of a factor that's thrown in there. Your kind of your right to retreat or your ability to retreat factor.
Which is, by the way, going to come up with our next scenario.
Yeah.
Which is, let's say I took my leather mask and I took my chainsaw and I thought to myself, I think I'm going to go to a Black Lives Matter protest in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use my chainsaw to protect some property there. Either I'm not sure if it's my property or a vacant lot. I'm not sure what it was. I'm going there to protect people. And so I go and I'm swinging my chainsaw at people and I'm brandishing my chainsaw.
Yep.
And the next thing I know, I'm running and somebody's hitting me with a skateboard. And finally I just take my chainsaw and I shoot a couple of guys. Actually, obviously, that's the Kenosha thing.
That's the Rittenhouse case. But
yeah.
I think if you kind of, like I said, without having any political affiliation, if you just look at it, first of all, legally in Wisconsin,
yes,
a 17-year-old legally can have a rifle in the street, open carry without a permit. So if you don't like the fact that a 17-year-old can carry a rifle in that state, then people from that state would need to address their legislature and change the law. My personal opinion, I think 17 is kind of young to let a teenager have a weapon and walk with open carry. Now, if you want to sit in your backyard and if you're a hunter or if you're a target shooter or something like that, then absolutely, that's fine. But to allow a 17-year-old to walk down the street with a rifle, that's an issue with the legislature, and that law allows it to happen. So that issue really isn't debatable because the kid legally could have it.
Right.
In Massachusetts,
by the way, let me ask you this question. Right. I mean, because I know we've talked about this before, and you said that the people who come from some of these open carry states, these young men, 17 years old, were some of the best marksmen in the Marine Corps.
Absolutely, because when they were young, whether from Ohio or Kentucky or Texas down south, a lot of them lived on a farm. They were hunters with their father. They were out when they're 12 and 13 years old shooting shotguns and rifles and pistols. So they come in the Marine Corps and they're 5 or 6 years ahead of the average Marine, and they're some of the best shots in there. They were very safe with weapons. They're very conscious of how you treat a weapon, and you treat every weapon as it's loaded, pointed at people and all that good, happy stuff.
Right.
So there is a positive about that. Many people, if they're taught by a reasonable adult, are very safe.
Here's one of the other things that I heard this about, and again, we're trying not to get too political, but I did hear this over and over, and I thought, geez, this is not a big deal. But they talked about him, 17-year-old carrying a gun. I'm like, again, open carry, not a big deal.
Down there,
I think you said that
no
there were
permit.
other people.
You don't need a permit.
Yeah, and am I correct to say there were a lot of other people carrying guns?
Yeah, there was people carrying guns. I would hate to be a cop there because you don't know who the threat is.
Yeah. And then the other part of this was he's talking about going over state lines. Is that a big?
Not even an issue. That's it's not even an issue. It's not even debatable. And I think we'll lose. I think we're going to lose some followers, Dave, if we even address that. Okay. Not even.
We won't even say it. But it's politics. But it's.
Yeah.
But here's the question: from a legal standpoint, as a cop in the scene, makes it hard, obviously, for you as a cop.
I think, unfortunately, down there were no cops. Everyone took the night off. That was the issue.
You think that was the issue?
Oh, it's a little bit. Let me tell you this: the Rittenhouse case, same scenario.
Yep.
Anywhere in the state of Massachusetts, you walk down the street, whether it be 7 a.m, 10 p.m, with a rifle on your hip, with a rifle or a shotgun or some sort of a long gun, just walking down the street, I can guarantee you will be confronted by every police officer that is working that day in that town. So you go to a small town on the North Shore, there's 7 or 8 guys working. They get a call at 10 o'clock at night for a kid at the beach with a rifle. Every cop that's working is going to show up. You might even have a cop from another town show up to assist. They're going to confront that kid, probably at gunpoint, tell him to drop the gun, and as long as he's cooperative, They're going to place him they're going to place him in custody and make a determination. First of all, can he legally carry it? But that's not even relevant because you